Hi, my name is Jennifer Lizak. I work at the Chicago Public Library in the Department of Cultural and Civic Engagement. One of my major programs that I work on is the One Book, One Chicago program, which is our citywide reading program. And the first time that I read this book was before I worked at the library, years before. I was still a teenager, and this was selected as one of the One Book, One Chicago selections, and that's when I first read it. But my friends and I have a banned book brunch club where we only read banned books. We use the ALA list of the most frequently banned books, and we meet to discuss them over brunch. So I wanted to read a couple of paragraphs from Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried. The things they carried were largely determined by necessity. Among the necessities, or near necessities, were P38 can openers, pocket knives, heat tabs, wristwatches, dog tags, mosquito repellent, chewing gum, candy, cigarettes, salt tablets, packets of Kool-Aid, lighters, matches, sewing kits, military payment certificates, sea rations, and 2 or 3 canteens of water. Together, these items weighed between 15 and 20 pounds, depending upon a man's habits or rate of metabolism. Henry Dobbins, who was a big man, carried extra rations. He was especially fond of canned peaches and heavy syrup over pound cake. Dave Jensen, who practiced field hygiene, carried a toothbrush, dental floss, and several hotel-sized bars of soap he'd stolen on R&R in Sydney, Australia. Ted Lavender, who was scared, carried tranquilizers until he was shot in the head outside the village of Tenty in mid-April. By necessity, and because it was SOP, they all carried steel helmets that weighed 5 pounds, including the liner and camouflage cover. They carried the standard fatigue jackets and trousers. Very few carried underwear. On their feet, they carried jungle boots, 2.1 pounds, and Dave Jensen carried 3 pairs of socks and a can of Dr. Scholl's foot powder as precaution against trench foot. Until he was shot, Ted Lavender carried 6 or 7 pounds of premium dope, which for him was a necessity. Mitchell Sanders, the RTO, carried condoms. Norman Boker carried a diary. Brett Kiley carried comic books. Kiowa, a devout Baptist, carried an illustrated New Testament that had been presented to him by his father, who taught Sunday school in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. As a hedge against bad times, however, Kiowa also carried his grandmother's distrust of the white man, his grandfather's old hunting hatchet. Necessity dictated. Because the land was mine and booby-trapped, it was SOP for each man to carry a steel-centered, nylon-covered flak jacket, which weighed 6.7 pounds, but which on hot days seemed much heavier. Because you could die so quickly, each man carried at least 1 large compressed bandage, usually in the helmet band, for easy access. Because the nights were cold and because the monsoons were wet, each carried a green plastic poncho that could be used as a raincoat or ground sheet or makeshift tent. With its quilted liner, the poncho weighed almost 2 pounds, but it was worth every ounce. In April, for instance, when Ted Lavender was shot, they used his poncho to wrap him up and then to carry him across the paddy, and then to lift him into the chopper that took him away. Read the rest.